Greetings, this is Dr. Chireka. It is very sad that we are losing a lot of our colleagues, our friends, our loved ones, especially from the black community. We have lost a lot of Zimbabweans, nurses, even doctors. When we start losing our loved ones in such high numbers from this pandemic, we start to ask questions. We need to ask questions that are uncomfortable. We need to ask questions that challenge some of the way we do things. I think as an NHS, we know that NHS would call it a United Nations, meaning that the NHS is full of people from all over the world. We have got black people, people from Africa, Asian people, white people, and we work together. But there's something that we need to make sure that we have addressed and deal with it. Firstly, we need to make sure that when we go and work in this pandemic, when we go and work, we must have personal protective equipment. If there's no personal protective equipment, no one should be working in these hospitals. But what we find is one habit that has been happening, which no one has even challenged. But we know that when you are an agent staff, when you go to work, you are the one that is given difficult patients. You are the one that is put in a ward that is difficult, because there are certain wards where people don't want to work in. There are certain wards where there's a high staff absenteeism, where staff, they're always phoning sick. How do they manage those wards? They manage them by making sure that they get agent staff. And who is working as agent staff? Majority of us, black people, African people, we have opened our own agents organizations, our own companies, which is good. But then that means that we are the ones who will be sending our staff, or we'll be going ourselves to make sure that we fill those shifts. Because failure to fill shifts, it means you won't get business tomorrow. So that is putting a lot of our people at high risk. But there should be guidelines. You don't work in an environment that makes you feel unwell, that puts your life at risk. Another thing that people are forgetting to look at is that when you are working as a frontline staff, you mustn't be exposed every day. So people need to look at how many hours are you working as the frontline staff? Are you getting enough breaks? Are you also taking enough rest? And what forms of personal protective equipment are you using? So if we don't deal with that, we'll find that we end up losing most of our loved ones. I'm not saying the people that are dying are dying due to this, but I'm just highlighting some of the issues that we need to address, that we as a people, we have to address those. Yes, but the narrative is only focusing on one area, that black people have got diabetes, black people have got other underlying conditions like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, high blood pressure, heart failure, HIV. Yes, those conditions, we might have them, but that's not only the reason why most of us are dying. I think it's exposure and also the lack of personal protective equipment being given to our people. So what can we do as a people? What can we do as a community? We need to raise awareness amongst ourselves. One, please, if you've got any underlying condition, make sure that you follow the guide from your doctor. Two, if you go to work, make sure that you are being given personal protective equipment that is being given to everyone. Two, you need to reduce the number of hours that you are working. You may have a lot of large bills to meet, to pay, but please, the more you're exposed in these frontline jobs, the higher your risk of getting infection. It's common sense. So we need to make sure that we are doing, and also you need to look after yourself. Have enough time to rest. And also you need to make sure that you're also having enough sleep. So those are things that we need to make sure that we are addressing. And then I think, having said that, we need to have a research, to have an inquiry. The NHS has got a duty to protect its employees. So we call upon the NHS to look at, is there a reason why black and ethnic minorities are dying in large numbers? We may not have the figures, but we need to look at that and come up with an answer as to why. But from what we are saying, what we are seeing is that black people who are working as agents, as they seem to be unfairly represented in people who are dying. My condolences goes to all those that have lost their loved ones. We don't know why things are like this, but we are asking for an inquiry into this death. But whilst we're waiting for the inquiry, there are a few things that we can do. If there's no PPE, you don't have to work. Do not overwork. Have enough rest. If you've got any underlying conditions, make sure that you are